You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give him a sniff. You voted for a viewer-submitted watch, so here it is. Red Wyvern has generously posted me this watch all the way from the Netherlands to wear and review for Watch of the Week. As a bonus, he's included a second watch for us to take a look at, so let's bust into it. Oh, here we go. Here's the secondary watch, the Loris. We'll come back to that later. Here is the GBX-100. Awesome. Also, the original straps have been included. So here is the main attraction, the GBX-100. And as you can see, it does have a bit of modifications done to it. And holy crap, that screen looks amazing. Let's take a closer look. Look at that. It's got like a rainbow across it. Check it out. Here's what he had to say about his GBX-100. This is my current go-to piece and gets by far the most wrist time. It's functionally identical to the GBD-100, aside from having an additional tide display functionality. It also has significantly better pushes and a more sensible layout for them. This watch is highly modified for better or for worse. Its NATO strap sits weirdly high from how it's folded, but this became a feature for me as I pull it over my jacket sleeve end when reading the time. You can read my in-depth post on its mods at watchoftheweek.com. Red Wyvern also mentioned he wanted me to compare his GBX-100 to two of my similar watches, the GBD-200 and also my recently reviewed SKMEI 1988, which took inspiration from this very design. And if you missed our recent review on this one, check that one out here. Well, let's start with the GBD-200, and to my knowledge, I've never seen this thing have a welcome screen like is shown here. But let's fire this thing up by holding that button down. So it looks like we are on the same display here. Yep, we've got a daily step counter graph, further breakdown, another view of the time, and back to the home time. Very, very similar there. Alrighty, now what about the different modes? We have workout, stopwatch, activity, and notifications. Very similar there as well. What about the adjustment menus? He mentioned it had a tide graph, which I don't recall my GBD-200 having. Home time, yep, that all looks the same. Oh, here we go. Check it out. So tide and moon and sun. So that's a completely new setting that we don't have access to on the GBD-200. Oh, I think I see. So look on the side of the bezel here, how it says tide, moon, sun. I would wager that when we're back in the home menu, that if we press this button, there we go. We have access to that menu. And yeah, from within this menu, we can have a look at all those different tide and moon graphs as well, which is really cool. Let's take a look at the physical design. Note how the GBD-200 just has this all rubber bezel, whereas this GBX has got this fancy solid steel, it looks like, metal bezel, which looks really, really nice. Other than that, these front backlight buttons are a little bit different. The little corrugation pattern on there is a little bit larger than on the GBD-200. Also, I'm noticing it on the buttons there. That's pretty cool. And if we hold them side by side, you'll also see that there is an additional screw on the GBX. And also the screws used are just normal Phillips, whereas the GBD has these hex bit screws. All right, let's compare it to the SKMEI 1988, which I got for $12 on AliExpress. Now, while this design is inspired by this G-Shock, and it does look quite similar, the functionality is just nowhere near as good. As you can see, there's only the very basic limited modes here. It does not have this fancy MIP display, which is crystal clear, and it does not have Bluetooth connectivity or any of those functionalities. But even the pushes and the buttons are quite different in shape, no corrugation, and it is distinctly lacking a separate backlight button here. It just uses this button right up here for the light. Now, another interesting fact about this GBX-100 is that it was actually second-hand. And no, not to me right now, but second-hand to Red Wyvern, who owns this watch. And apparently the original owner must have been a smoker, because these original straps apparently reek of cigarette smoke, and they are way more rigid than normal. So, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give him a sniff. Ooh. Nah, Look, I'm not going to lie, I can smell something, but it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I expected. But as for now, I can't wait to try it with this really nice NATO strap. So let's whack it on for a wrist check. And at the moment, I am wearing my W217H, which we hydro modded in a recent video, if you missed that one. There we go. What do you reckon? So this is my 6.5-inch wrist, or 16.5 centimeters. Guys, I think it looks quite nice, and I'm really surprised by the way that these straps are folded. I kind of thought it was going to be a lot bulkier than it is, but Red Wyvern is right. It actually feels quite comfortable on the wrist. And other than swapping out these straps for this cool NATO, there's actually been 2 other mods done to this watch. I'd love to know if you can guess what they are just by looking at it. And I'll give you a clue. It's something to do with the screen. While you decide on what the 2 mods could be, Bubble reminds you to ram that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. Good girl. Now, if you guessed that one of the mods done to this watch was a hydro mod, you are correct. However, I guarantee you haven't seen it done like this, because the oil that Red Wyvern used is actually WD-40 branded silicone spray oil, which actually has a yellow tinge to it. I do wonder if this is what is responsible for creating this awesome rainbow pattern. Now, as for the second mod, I will be really impressed if you've been able to get this one. And it is a screen lens filter which has been applied, but again, not in the standard way that you might expect. For example, here is my LF20W, to which I have applied this blue gradient screen filter, and that was a great video if you missed that one. But Red Wyvern is extremely resourceful, and since I doubt he had any of these gradient filters lying around, instead he was able to use Kapton tape. Now, this is the stuff that I've only ever seen used for soldering. You actually stick it over electrical components so they don't get damaged by heat. But guess what? He was able to make this into a lens filter, and as you can see, somehow when combined with this WD-40 silicone oil has produced this spectacular rainbow effect on the display. Quick update from the owner, the rainbow effect actually comes from a third mod I wasn't aware of, where he swapped out the polarizing filter on the display, thanks to it being damaged during the hydro mod. Now, I should mention that the reason he's done this Kapton tape mod on the screen lens is because he found the blue backlight to be quite bright and annoying at night time. So let's take a look with the lights off now, how it appears with the Kapton tape. Whoa, look at that. It's almost like a yellowy green color now, isn't it? And this Kapton tape was ingeniously only applied to the back of the screen, which means the digits stay nice and white, and it's only the backlight that has been changed. Now, I have already checked with Red Wyvern, and I know for a fact that he really likes this NATO strap, and I can see why. It's actually really comfy, and it looks really cool as well. But the fact remains that they are not the correct size, so if you do want me to have a try, mate, I am happy to give you some straps or install them myself, given I have got so many spares that may be compatible. And actually, I reckon this one right here would look really cool with your watch. It's a James Bond NATO strap, which I don't have assigned to any project at the moment, so if you want it, it's yours. Oh, and actually, I have a few spare of these 16 to 22mm NATO adapters, which I could try installing. I reckon that would be a good fit, and it would mean that I wouldn't have to cut it if you wanted to do another 22mm NATO. Regardless, I am really excited to be wearing Red Wyvern's GBX-100 for the next 7 days as part of Watch of the Week, so that I can gain my thoughts for a more thorough review. And if you'd like to join me and get your hands on a GBX-100, I'll leave a link for you in the description below. Ram that like button because it's time for the bonus. Let's take a look at the second watch that Red Wyvern has sent me to take a look at. And it looks like it is zip tied up. So let's take care of that. There we go. And it looks like he's left us a little note here. What does this say? Gasket pinched, not water resist. Okay. Interesting. So I don't see the gasket being pinched. Normally you'd see it sort of poking out the side here. So what we might have to do, guys, is actually disassemble this one in the next video as well and see what's on the inside. But having a look at this, guys, check it out. Loris, it's a brand I've never even seen before. And from what Red Wyvern tells me, this is a very significant watch to him. It was the watch he owned before he ever got a Casio. Now, he has mentioned that this watch is actually annoying to operate and has a few other things that he dislikes about the watch. However, he got it as it's one of the last watches that uses the Indie Glow feature, which I'm going to assume is something to do with the backlight. So let's give it a test and see what Indie Glow really is. Ooh, that's pretty cool. It's a very uniform backlight, isn't it? And very, very clear with those nice large digits. You know what? Let's put it on. Why not? Why not? There we go. And apparently it's got a cool animation in the stopwatch mode. Maybe it's this one? Sport? Oh yeah, check it out. That is pretty cool. Look at all those days of the week. I dig that. I can see why you like Loris, my friend. A huge thank you to Red Wyvern for lending me these two awesome watches. I promise I'll keep them safe for you over the next 1 week. And guys, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it when I do my 1 week review of the GBX-100. And I'd love to know, have any of you guys ever owned a Loris? And if not, what was your first small watch brand before you owned a Casio? Let us know below. Here's some more great content for you to watch next. And here's a link to our Discord channel. Come say hi to myself and others like Red Wyvern. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.